Welcome to today's lecture, my channel of food processing, especially foods of animal origin. Today's topic is retort pouch processing of meat and meat products, part 2. As you can see in the part 1, in this topic I have discussed specially in general about the retort processing and the machineries, and more details about the retort pouch itself, its characteristics, variety and other properties, advantages and disadvantages. Today I will focus more on the actual processing, especially of meat and fish products. So the actual operations of retort pouch processings I am going to discuss in details today. First, let us have a quick review of canning. So I have a details lecture on canning long back. So anyone can review and revisit that. Here is a quick review about the canning steps. First is there is selection of raw materials. Second, preparation of the materials like cutting or dicing or cleaning. And then there is cooking of raw materials. Sometime we have to add other gravies, or separately we have to prepare the gravy and the meat, and then we have to fill it into the can. After that there will be a exhausting and creating a vacuum and sealing. So this is a very special step, that is the hermetic sealing. The evacuation and sealing is done simultaneously. It's very important. And then there is actual processing, that is the thermal sterilization in the retort, which is working on the principle of autoclave. And after processing we have to cool it, and then there is storage, inspection and labeling. So this is briefly the steps for canning. Now we will see briefly the steps of retort pouch processing. So earlier I have discussed about the canning. Retort pouch also I have discussed briefly in my earlier lecture when I was discussing about canning at the last part in a very brief. Here we are discussing full details about the retort pouch processing. First I am telling the steps, and then we are going to discuss every steps in details. So here first there is a roll stock, that is the laminate which is available in the form of a roll, and then from that a pouch is formed, and then the pouch one side will be open and we have to fill the product. So product will be partially prepared or heated, and side by side we can have a separate preparation of gravy. After that we need to do the removal of air and special sealing, that is the hermetic sealing, which will be impermeable to air, water and microorganisms. After sealing there should be an inspection, and followed by actual retort loading into the retort, and then retort processing, that is the thermal processing, which is equivalent to sterilization. After that there will be retort unloading, and again there should be one more inspection. After that the pouch should be dried and it can be packed in the carton for marketing. So these are briefly the steps of retort pouch processing. All the steps I am going to discuss in details today. Now we are going to discuss different steps of operation in retort pouch processing. The first step is pouch filling. Filling pouches is a very critical operation. Pouch should be filled to a optimum level so that it will not touch the sealing area. Whenever there is overfilling in the pouch, that may cause contamination of the sealing area and cause sealing failure or under processing. Product dipping from the filler nozzle can cause seal contamination. Sometimes there is special filling nozzle that can cause contamination in sealing area, and then the sealing will be imperfect and leading to imperfect retort pouch. In small units, the product filling commonly done by hand in the pre-formed pouches, or the semi-solid or gravy can be filled by using a funnel. So the filling of the pouch is a very important operation. Regarding pouch filling, there are certain guidelines to minimize seal area contamination. Firstly, filler should match to product characteristics through actual filling tests. Secondly, nozzle should be designed in such a way that suction holes on nozzle tips to suck back dripping products. The external suction rings or metal guards to physically prevent drippings from contaminating seal surfaces. So these are some of the important features for the filling nozzle so that we can avoid the contamination of the sealing area during pouch filling. In continuation to pouch filling, no filling up to a specified distance of the top of the pouch. As I told, some portion at the top there should be emptiness or vacuum for the sealing, so about 3.8 centimeter is kept free from filling the product. Then control over the configuration of pouch opening by some of the specific tips like conveyor clamps on both leading and trailing pouch edges. That helps in controlling the configuration of pouch opening. Secondly, by air jet assistance to initiate opening. And thirdly, by external suction cups and spoonbill internal forming devices. So these are the options by which we can control the configuration of pouch opening. The controlling of handling of filled pouches will prevent contamination of the seal area, and measures to remove residual air to prevent splashing of meat gravies is another important idea, so that the sealing area should not get contaminated. Now after filling, the next important step is exhausting the filled pouch before it is sealed. So the control of air content in the filled pouch is important. The uppermost portion should be empty, the air should be removed before sealing, and a partial vacuum should be created. This is required for possibility of gas production in future, and the remaining air inside at the beginning can also cause a kind of spoilage due to presence of oxygen. The residual air in the sealed pouch could lead to excessive stressing of the seals and affect the rate of heat transfer. If there is air, it can affect the seal or it affect the heat processing. In some products, the air content purposefully entrapped in the fill material for product texture development. That is in case of bakery products with meat. In solid products such as unblanched meat, large amount of gas are trapped in the tissues. So in case of meat and all, lot of gases will be there. So during this exhausting, some of this air can be removed. So in this exhausting, there is a procedure called back flush. Sometimes the air is removed and partially inert air is injected. So in this back flush procedure, the headspace gas must be controlled in order to remove oxygen. And this helps in extending the shelf life, in protecting the package integrity, and promote uniform and predictable heat transfer. However, we have to be careful that rapid evacuation, rapid exhausting is risky. It can cause the contamination in the sealing area. So we should be careful about rapid evacuation during vacuum sealing. Now we will discuss about seal formation. So it is sometimes called as hermetic sealing, which is very special in case of canning or in retort, which prevents the total impermeability to air, water, steam or microorganisms. So this hermetic seal is achieved by the fusion of two heat sealable layers to each other. As I told in the previous lecture, in the retort pouch, there is inner layer, that is polypropylene or cast polypropylene, which will be there in both sides. So both are inside, so they are sealed together. The types of sealing methods include the contact sealer, which could be by hot bar or impulse. It can be done by induction, where the molecules become excited, and heating is by conduction. There could be ultrasonic method, where the sound waves excite the polymers to produce heat, and it can be by dielectric method, where the dielectric waves cause the polymers to realign. Now the most commonly used is the contact sealer, either by impulse sealer or hot bar, and the processor seal is generally applied using one of these sealing devices. Earlier I mentioned in the previous lecture there is a processor seal, and that is applied by one of these methods. In continuation to seal formation, let us understand the prerequisites for achieving a good seal. Firstly, properly formed and undamaged pouches are required. That's very important. In absence of foreign materials in the sealing area, that is the free from contamination of meat or other oil or anything, then proper placement of the pouches within the jaws of the sealing machine. So the pouch should be properly placed in the sealing area, and flat, smooth and parallel sealing surface. The sealing surface should be flat and smooth. Secondly, there are miscellaneous other factors affecting the hermetic seal. The most important is temperature of fusion. Secondly, pressure created by the sealing tool. Thirdly, dwell time of the sealing tool. The sealing material compatibility. The material should have proper compatibility for sealing. And finally, the seal area contamination, which we have mentioned earlier. So these are the important points for seal formation, that is hermetic sealing. In continuation about seal formation, as the sealing is most important in retort pouch processing because it has to be stored in room temperature for long time, the heat sealing temperature must fall within the specifications provided by the laminate manufacturer. So manufacturer gives a range of heat temperature for heat sealing that should be followed. If the sealing surface is too hot, the polyester may delaminate from the foil. So that's why it is important to have a proper control in the temperature, otherwise it may damage the laminate. In a good seal, the bond between the sealing layers should be stronger than the bond between the layers of the laminate. The presence of foreign materials, that is in the sealing area, can cause voids or blisters to form within the seal. These voids may also form channels that permit the inclusion of bacteria. So these are some of the important caution regarding the seal formation. Now the next step is loading of these sealed pouches into the retort, and sometimes it is done by traying, by keeping these pouches in the tray. So after the pouch are sealed, it is transferred to retort or tray on which each pouch is kept in separate compartment or slot. So each pouch is kept in specific slot. This ensures that the flexible pouches present similar dimensions with uniform exposure to the heat medium, because every pouch must get optimum heat treatment. Ideally, these trays should prevent pouch movement and superimposition during retorting. So they are fixed in the trays in a specific manner so that they prevent the movement of the pouches and superimposition during retorting. So one should not be over the other. An additional mesh restraint over the retort trays can be used to restrict pouch inflation and distortion in the retort. So sometime there will be additional mesh, wire mesh will be kept over the retort for their control so that there will not be any pouch inflation or imposition on others and distortion in the retort. Now little bit of caution about handling of closed pouches. The handling of these sealed and closed pouches is very important. All equipment and surfaces contacting the pouches must not cause damage or abrasion to the pouch material. The pouches should not overlap or touch while in retort or in the process, as I have mentioned previously. The pouch to pouch contact will create container defects as the edges of the pouch are quite rigid and sharp. So these edges of the pouch are very hard. So it can cause damage to the other pouch. That should be avoided, and that should be avoided by preventing the overlapping. In the retort, the pouches should be held in separate compartments as I have mentioned to restrain the overlapping. Furthermore, the retort should be kept clean and rust free. Sometimes if there is rust, such metal particle can cause damage to the pouches while processing at high pressure. Now we will discuss about the retorting, that is the actual heat processing. The sealed packets already loaded and the chamber is closed and there will be processing under high heat, under high pressure. So first there is an introduction of additional pressure into the retort to prevent bursting of the pouches. This overpressure retorting can be achieved either by processing under water in conventional canning retorts. So normally the traditional cans worked with the high hydrostatic pressure, but nowadays there is a special system in which air and steam are mixed to ensure thermal homogeneity. So in the latter I am going to discuss three different type of retort, how it works. After retorting, no manual handling of the pouches to avoid contamination. Once the high heat processing is done, there should not be any manual handling so that no contamination is possible. In a fully automated system, the pouches are washed and dried. After processing, the pouches should be washed and dried, which we are going to discuss in details. So in continuation to retorting, we will see that there are three main categories of retorts used for pouch processing. First is full water immersion batch retorts. This is the oldest and most common. This is also used for normal traditional canning. The second is water spray or cascade batch retort. This retort use minimal water for heating because only the steam is sprayed over the pouches and application is done in conjunction with air pressure, high pressure air. And the third is steam and air batch retorts. So these retorts use a mixture of steam and air as the heating medium. The air is the source of the high pressure. There is some French system that is Teritech that is used in Thailand, and there is a special machine that is Japanese steam air retorts which is used for most of the tuna in pouches for processing. Now briefly we will explain about the three different methods of retort processing. The first one is full water immersion retort. This is a batch operation. It can be still or agitating, that is agitating or non-agitating inside the pouch. There will be overpressure, first used for glass jars, this kind of system. Now used for variety of package formats, also for these retort pouches. Water is heated in a vessel above the cook chamber to 133 degrees Celsius. Now this superheated water is used to immerse the packages. A circulation pump is used to ensure proper heat distribution. So this is briefly about the full water immersion retort. Here is the second method, that is the water spray retort. This is also a batch operation. This can be agitating or non-agitating. It uses pump to force superheated water. This also works under high pressure. Nozzles provide uniform heating and it's a improved process control than the earlier one, that is the traditional one, and optimal for pouch processing. This water spray retort is very ideal for retort processing. Here is the third variety of retort processing, that is the steam and air batch retort. Here the steam and air is mixed for heating and processing. So the sterilization is through the introduction of steam. A fan circulates the steam to provide uniform heating suitable for multiple package types, and packages are cooled with recirculated water. So in this hydrolock continuous cooker, it's a kind of hydrolock continuous cooker which is having a continuous cooker overpressure, multiple package formats, either glass or pouches, high volume application, and retail products with cook time of less than 30 minutes can be produced. So this is about the steam and air mixed batch retort processing. Now we will see the actual retort processing or operation in a sequence. First, the retort pouches are loaded into a cage. Then this cage is loaded into the retort, and then the retort door is closed. Now initially drain valve open to remove internal air. Now start the operation by injecting the high pressure steam and water into the retort and close the drain valve. Now the pressure will rise up to the preset level, and when the pressure rises, the temperature also will rise up. Now the process time is controlled after the pressure come up. When the desired preset pressure comes, then the time of processing counted, and when the optimum heating is done, the steam is closed. Now the cooling under air pressure carried out, and after cooling reduce the internal pressure slowly. Now open the retort door slowly, remove the cage and surface dry the retort pouch for some time. So these are the sequence of operation in the actual retort processing. Now after the processing, the drying of the pouches is very important. So adequate drying of retort pouches and enclosing them in protective outer wrap is very important as quickly as possible. The water left on the retort pouch presents possibility of reducing the strength of outer wrap and leave watermarks and staining. Once the pouches are taken out of the retort for drying, it should be cooled to an internal temperature of 50 to 60 degrees Celsius. And pouch drying is done by utilizing a combination of residual heat, wetting agents, mechanical dryers and air blowers. So these are the combination used for drying of the pouches after processing. Now the next step is outer wrapping. So the pouches should be covered with another wrapper or a kind of boxes. The retort pouch is easily punctured by the sharp objects and is susceptible to flex cracking when subjected to repeated flexing and folding. So excessive vibrations during shipping can cause flexing, leading to pinholes and allowing air to enter. That's why the outer packing, the flexible pouch in a rigid board gives maximum support to all surfaces of the pouch. Prior to packing, each pouch should have a final inspection and a product label should be affixed to the pouch. So for protection of the pouch, there should be a outer packing with rigid board that gives a better protection because these products are for long-term storage and handling. Now we will see some quality checks on the pouches. Firstly, the visual assessment to check there are no defects on the pouches. Then seal strength to measure the strength of the seal for processing and storage. Then burst testing or busting strength to ensure the pack has adequate seal strength and integrity. Then oxygen and water transmission rate to measure the barrier properties of the pouch. Then bond strength to ensure the pouch has strength to prevent delamination of the layers. And tensile testing. So this is used for assessing the qualities of the flexible packaging films and are employed as an optional test. So these are some of the common tests which are used as quality checking for the retort pouches. Now we will see the integrity factors. So there are three main areas of the process which governs the integrity factors. Number one is improper filling, which can cause contamination of the seal area. Firstly, the post-fill drip on seal from filler spout. Secondly, by incorrect vacuumization process. And third is overfilling. So these three factors are important for improper filling and leading to the improper sealing. The second is improper sealing will compromise the integrity of the pouch. And thirdly, improper handling in pre or post process can cause damage to pouch and sealing. So these are the three important integrity factors. So we have discussed the details process for retort pouch processing. Now we will briefly discuss different kind of meat products which is already developed and processed under retort pouch. Here is an example about the mixed vegetable pork curry. This is developed in National Research Center in Pig in Guwahati. We can see a formulation. Here roughly we can see the pork used is around 30% and different vegetables are used around 30% and water is 30%. So these three makes around 90% and another 10% is different kind of spices and condiments. So total it makes 100. This is the machine, that is the retort processing machine made in India, which is used for preparing this mixed vegetable pork curry. Here we can see all the ingredients in the first picture, and in the right side we can see the loading of the packets for processing in the retort, and in the left side bottom we can see the finished product, that is the mixed vegetable pork curry prepared in National Research Center on Pig in Guwahati. Here we can see the physicochemical properties of the mixed vegetable pork curry. The moisture is around 57%, fat 15%, protein 28% as 1.28 and free fatty acid about 3%, and the texture profile is found to be optimum, and this product was studied under storage in room temperature and up to 30 days it was even better than the 0-day product. Here is a process for chettinad goat meat product under retort pouch processing. Here the fresh goat meat was cubed to 3 to 4 centimeter, washed and drained. A gravy was prepared by heating chopped onions in sunflower oil, sliced tomato and cooked for 3 minutes. Freshly prepared ginger garlic paste, spice mix, water and coconut pulp was added on that and cooked for 10 to 15 minutes and then cooled. So that makes a gravy. Separately, goat meat cubes were heated for 10 minutes and 150 gram was packed in each pouch. Then 100 gram gravy was added to each pouch using funnel without spillage. A modified steam plus technique using piped stainless steel steam cooker for removal of headspace was used. So a stainless steel cooker connected with a pipe was used for steaming into the pouch for removing the headspace, and immediately it was sealed with single jaw high pressure impulse sealing machine. Now these sealed pouches were subjected to thermal processing in a retort at a temperature of 121.1 degrees Celsius at 20 psi pressure. Now after the processing, the rapid cooling was done by recirculating cooling air. So this is briefly the process for chettinad goat meat with gravy. Here we will explain quickly about the buffalo meat block in retort pouch. First, about 10 kg of buffalo meat is taken. It is cleaned, removed all the adhered tissues, connective tissues, fascia and fat, then cut into small cubes and kept in refrigerator. Then this meat is removed and ground in mincer. After this, a emulsion or batter is prepared by putting the ground meat in a bowl chopper. After that, water and curing mixture is added. This curing mixture will have salt, sugar, phosphate and nitrite. Then they are thoroughly ground in the bowl chopper for extracting the proteins. After that, the oil was added and mixed thoroughly by fine chopping, and thereby it makes a kind of emulsion or batter. And in the third phase, the spices, condiments and binder like cornstarch is added and mixed thoroughly. And finally, it gives a batter. So that we call meat emulsion. Now all this process is done at a low temperature for making a good quality batter. About 200 gram of this emulsion is filled in retort pouch and sealed with vacuum, and then it is processed in retort at 107 degrees Celsius and cooling for about 10 minutes. So this is a process for making a buffalo meat block in a retort pouch. Here is the processing for pepper chicken in retort pouch under retort processing. So here the steps are almost similar. Opening up the pouch, filling with warm chicken and gravy separately, 100 gram and 150 gram. Then removal of the air from retort by using the live steam. Then sealing of pouches using high pressure sealer. Then keeping the pouches in trays and loading into the retort. Then the retort processing at 121.1 degrees Celsius. Then cooling up the pouches to around 60 degrees Celsius and then unloading the pouches. So this is the process I have explained, and this is used for making the retort pouch processed pepper chicken. So I have already explained about the retort processed product from goat meat, from buffalo meat and chicken. So similarly, other products can be prepared with a minute variations in the processing. Here is about cereal based chicken stew which was developed. So the processes will be similar for making the stew. Whether we can use some kind of cereals and prepare the chicken, make a liquid and fill it, seal it and process it. Here we can see the preparation of sweet and sour prawn. So here we can use sweet peppers, tomatoes and onions, and they are cut and cleaned. Then the prawns are cut and cleaned. Then the prawns are steam heated and the vegetables are partially cooked. Then they are filled separately in the pouch, then sealing and then processing in the retort, and we can make sweet and sour prawn dish. Here we can see a special preparation of prawn with tamarind sauce. So in this case, the onion, ginger, garlic paste is prepared and then the tamarind extract is added and a sauce is prepared, and then the prawns are cleaned and heated partially. Then they are filled into the pouch. The proper recipe we have to develop through trial, and then after filling, sealing should be done, and then processing will be done in the retort in the similar process as I have explained. Here we can see some of the fish products like tuna, which is a very important fish in many countries like China, Japan. So here first the fish is cut and steamed, and after that it is cooked partially. Then it is filled into the pouch along with certain vegetables like celery, carrots, onion, and after that it is sealed and then it is processed in the retort. Here we can see the fish ball preparation in retort pouch. So generally we can use the very big fishes which will not have much bones. So first they are cut into pieces, then mincing is done in the machine as like in meat, and then this minced fish can be used in the bowl chopper along with the oil. First emulsion is made and then the spices and binders are added, and finally we can get a batter. From this batter we can make balls, and those balls can be filled into the pouches and then it can be processed in retort. So we can get fish balls in the retort pouch. Here we can see a commercial retort processing line. So it is a large scale processing in China, Japan, Korea. It's a very large industry. So the filling is done in a large scale and then it goes through a conveyor and filled into the processor, and it is processed appropriately and then it is commercially marketed. So they are very popular in some of these countries. So now we are at the end of today's lecture. So in the first part of the retort pouch processing, I have discussed about the retort machineries and more details about the retort pouch, its properties and advantages and disadvantages. Today again we have started in the second part. Today's main focus is to discuss in details about the actual processing and operation. So quickly I have explained about the canning and retort processing at the beginning, the all steps, and then we have discussed in details every step starting from formation of the pouch, filling of the pouch, then sealing and details about it, and then thorough details about the processing operations, and then drying, and then marketing. And we have discussed some of the specific products based on goat meat, buffalo meat, chicken meat, prawns, and some of the fish products. So this is the details about the retort pouch processing. Thank you.